All right, today we're going to dive deep into just one single really powerful verse. It's from the biblical text of 2 Peter, and it's this incredibly sharp warning against, well, religious exploitation. And what's fascinating is how it's built. It's like a formula, a precise recipe for deceit.
Okay, so here it is. This is the verse we're going to spend our time with. Listen closely to the words, the way they're put together. And through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. I know it's a mouthful, right? It sounds kind of dense, but trust me, the way it's structured is, well, it's nothing short of brilliant. So, let's start with the first half. You see, this isn't just a simple warning. It's more like a blueprint. It actually lays out the whole anatomy of deception, almost like a mathematical formula. So, let's break it down piece by piece. Everything kicks off with the motive. The verse pins it on one thing: covetousness. And we're not just talking about, wanting a new car. No, this word means something much deeper. It's this intense, grasping greed, a hunger that can't be satisfied for things that just aren't yours. This is the engine that drives the whole ugly machine.
So, okay, if greed is the engine, what's the weapon of choice? The text is crystal clear about this. It calls them feigned words. Think about that. Words that are fake, pretended, totally insincere. They're basically carefully crafted lies. This is language engineered not to tell the truth, but to get a specific reaction. These are the tools they use.
And all of this leads to the end game, the objective. And the language here is, wow, it's just chillingly direct. The goal, it says, is to make merchandise of you. Just let that sink in for a second. To turn people, their belief, their trust, everything into a product, a thing to be bought and sold. I mean, talk about a profound act of dehumanization.
So you see the pattern here, right? It's a really clear three-part process that's laid out right in front of us. First, you have the motive inside, that intense greed. Then you have the method they use on the outside, those deceptive words. And it all leads to the final goal: exploiting other human beings.
But wait, the verse isn't done, not by a long shot. After laying out the crime in such detail, it makes this hard pivot right to the consequence. And it does it with the exact same level of precision. So let's look at the second half, because this part is all about one thing: certainty. Check out the powerful way this is written. You've got this parallel structure. The text gives us two big ideas: judgment and damnation. And then it describes them in almost the same way. One lingereth not, and the other slumbereth not. See that? That kind of repetition is never an accident. It's all about emphasis. It creates this rhythm, this drumbeat of inescapable certainty.
And this is what makes the message of this second half so powerful. The language is active. Think about it. A judgment that doesn't linger, that means it's already here. A damnation that doesn't slumber, well, that means it's wide awake, and it's watching. So the consequence isn't some distant maybe down the road. No, it's being described as something that is happening right now, an active, imminent reality.
All right, so let's zoom out and put the two halves together. You take that step-by-step anatomy of the crime and you add the absolute certainty of the consequence, and what you get is the complete and frankly timeless warning this single verse is trying to give us. So here's the whole thing, distilled down, the entire cause and effect chain right there. It starts with the motive, intense greed. That leads to the method, deceptive language, which is used for the action, human exploitation. And the result, the consequence, is inevitable judgment. It's like a complete, self-contained warning system packed into one sentence.
And that brings us to the final lingering question. And it's a question that feels just as urgent today as it must have thousands of years ago. We've got this ancient text warning us about a transaction where human beings are the product. So it forces us to ask ourselves, right now, when belief itself is treated like a commodity, what's the true cost? And who's the one that ends up paying it?